Hello class, this is your auxiliar Cassandra. I hope that you all are staying home, staying healthy, and being productive during these days. I want you to remember that this is not a vacation, okay? This is your in-person schooling changing to online schooling. So you must do all the assigned work and check Google Classroom several times a day. Okay, so today we will be talking about modal verbs. I will explain what a modal verb is, its functions, its characteristics, and show you some examples of modal verbs you will be using in this week's activity. So, let's get started. So, what are modal verbs? Modal verbs are special verbs which behave irregularly in English. They behave irregularly because they never change their form. They are different from normal verbs like work, play, visit, that often change their verbs in the third person. For example, he works, she plays, it visits. Okay? There was an S added to the end of the verb, and it changed. Modal verbs do not ever change, so you will not be adding an S, an ED, or an ING to the word. They also give additional information about the function of the main verb. They also give additional information about the function of the main verb that follows it. Now we can talk about the functions of a modal verb. Modal verbs are used to express functions such as permission, ability, obligation, prohibition, lack of necessity, advice, possibility, probability. Now that we know what a modal verb does, let's talk about their characteristics. Here are some characteristics of modal verbs. Number 1, they never change their form. You cannot add S, ES, ED, or ING. They always stay the same. They always stay must, mustn't, should, or shouldn't. Okay? They are always followed by an infinitive verb without to.
Modal verbs also express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, and ability. Remember that modal verbs are followed by an infinitive without to.
I should do my homework. You mustn't hit other children. We shouldn't eat more cake. She must help her brother. Notice how all of the verbs, the second verb, or the main verb in the sentence, does not have to in front of it. For example, the modal verb must plus the infinitive verb run without to gives us the sentence, she must run today, which is an obligation. Now that we've talked about the functions of modal verbs as well as characteristics and some tips to remember, let's see some of the modal verbs we'll be using for this week's activity. The first modal verb we're going to be using is the modal verb must. Must conveys a strong obligation. I must save the world. Or a logical conclusion or certainty. She must be tired from saving the world. Okay, now the second modal verb we will be looking at today is must not or mustn't. Mustn't conveys prohibition. You mustn't bring swords into the hospital. The third modal verb that we'll be seeing today is should. Should shows 50% obligation or a weak obligation. I should wear a mask. Or advice. We should be superheroes. Or a logical conclusion. He should be tired. He fought bad guys all day. And finally, the fourth modal verb we'll be talking about today is should not or shouldn't. Shouldn't shows a 50% prohibition or a weak prohibition. You shouldn't eat junk food, but sometimes you can. Can also be used to express advice. You shouldn't go to the USA. It's horrible there. Or it can express a logical conclusion. She shouldn't be sick. I just saw her healthy yesterday. Okay, so now that we've talked about modal verbs, now it's your turn to use them. So this week's activity or assignment will be to record a video of yourselves. You can use your phone, your iPad or tablet, or even your computer. But you need to record yourself, at least your voice, and maybe a video to go along with it, saying one thing you should do, shouldn't do, must do, and mustn't do during these days of staying inside because of the virus. So think about things you should, shouldn't, must, and mustn't do. For example, I mustn't go outside. Okay? Please be as creative as you want. If you want it to be serious, great. If you want it to be funny, great. However you want it to be. Okay? Thank you very much for watching the video. I'm so excited to see your videos. Okay, bye-bye. See you next time.